Hi everyone, I'm Sophie and today I'll be discussing a part of lecture 4 with you about personality, happiness, and social interactions. Well, before we start discussing the big lines of this lectures, we first have to dive into the definition of subjective well-being. When we start discussing subjective well-being, we're actually referring to our life happiness. So how happy are you with your life? There are many factors that can play a role in this, but studies have shown that personality has one of the strongest links with our subjective well-being. The best combination for a high subjective well-being is that of a high extroversion and a low neuroticism. When we look at the causes for the correlation between personality and subjective well-being, we actually look at our nature and nurture debate. So when we look at the nature side of the debate, we look at our direct genetic link. So we see that personality affects how we experience life. So something internal has an effect on the external. Then when we look at the nurture side of this debate, we look at the indirect link via the environment. So we see that personality creates a lifestyle. We select our environment, and this in turn, so the environment in turn, can have an effect on both our personality and subjective well-being. Now, when we look at the stability of our life satisfaction, we actually see that it's not as stable as our personality traits and that it fluctuates or changes over the years. This is also called hedonic adaptation. So this is actually the tendency of people to fluctuate around the baseline. So for example, you get a really nice job, you're very happy, your subjective well-being skyrockets, and then after a few months it kind of dies down again, and maybe something bad happens, or it kind of stays around that baseline, or something good happens again and you go up. You never know. It can go all over the place. Of course, there are also some aspects of your life that can cause a continued decline in your happiness. And here we're talking of a divorce or your death of your partner, but also unemployment and disability. It's good to know that every person is different, and so every person will react to such events on a different way, and this is dependent on your personality traits but also the characteristics of the event. The most important thing to remember about the Big Five and your subjective well-being is that a high extroversion and a high friendliness is something that's good or positive for your subjective well-being, and a high neuroticism is something that's bad or negative for your subjective well-being. So in the last slide, we've looked at how our subjective well-being can be predicted by our personality traits. And here on this slide, we're looking at how divorce can be predicted by our personality traits. And researchers have found that there are, first of all, two types of divorces. So divorces due to quarrels and conflicts, or divorces due to cheating. And then divorces due to quarrels are often or can often be predicted by people who have a high neuroticism, low agreeableness, and a low conscientiousness. And then divorces due to cheating can be predicted by people who have a high extroversion and a high openness. They've also found that there are certain personality traits that lead to a greater likelihood of cheating, such as a low conscientiousness, a low agreeableness, a high extroversion, and a high openness. And that people who compare their situation with alternative situations that might be better, for example, are often people with personality traits such as a high extroversion and high openness, and that people with a high openness most of the time care less about social norms. So I say most or often because you can never say always. No people are the same. So before we divorce, we first have to select a partner. And when we do select a partner, there are some key features that people in general look at. So these key features are intelligence, humor, honesty, friendliness, and of course a little bit of attractiveness. And then we also have two hypotheses about our partner selection. So these are that of the similarity hypothesis and the complementary hypothesis. The similarity hypothesis states that people who look alike fit well together, and the complementary hypothesis states that people who don't look alike or are quite different from each other can complement each other. Now, research has looked into these hypotheses, and they found that actually the similarity hypothesis is the strongest. And we also have coined the term assortative mating for this. So when we talk about assortative mating, we actually talk about how bachelors or people without partner prefer partners with a similar personality or morals or background. There are also some counter arguments to the similarity hypotheses, and that is that of the co-development. So people over time become more alike. However, this turns out to not be true. And then another explanation is that of availability. So, for example, you choose a job that fits well with your personality. You find yourself in an environment where there are other people who like that job because they might have a similar personality, and then you find your partner there. However, this explanation has not really been researched enough to state that this is correct. Then there are also some general characteristics of a romantic relationship. In general, people feel safe and secure when the other is present. People turn to the other in times of illness, distress, or fear. The other can serve as a safe base from which the person can explore the world. And people speak to each other in a unique language, which can be mother language or baby language, like hey babe, and just silly little terms or words. Your relationship satisfaction depends on 3 different aspects. The first one is the personality of the target self, so you as a person. This is also called actor effects. Then it's dependent on the personality of the other, which is called the partner effects. And then it's also dependent on the dissimilarity or similarity measure, which is called the difference score. The actor effect has the greatest effect on relationship satisfaction, then it's the partner effect, and then it's the difference score, which actually has a quite small effect. All right, that was it. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something. If you want to learn more, remember, this is not all of lecture 4. There's more to it. And of course, we have all the other lectures. I hope to see you in the training. Have a nice day.